TV. This is the Monday Report with Trevor Ombija.
That's absolutely right. It's the 3rd of February in the year of our Lord 2025. At this pace, I'll be telling you happy 2026 very soon. The year is moving quite fast. But later on, in the Monday Report, we'll be having a conversation with Honorable Pio Wandai, the Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum. We're calling it the broad-based energy. This is among his first appearances here since he took over that docket of the energy and petroleum. Send in all the questions you have. Like we always do on the Monday Report, we give you back the microphone. Ask the questions the way you want them asked. Send them at Trevor Ombija at Citizen TV Kenya or text us on 22422. Tell us your name and where you're texting from. Ask any questions in regard to the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. We'll have the CS here to answer all your questions. Use the hashtag Monday Report. But before that, our top stories tonight. Rescue teams mount a search operation in Mandera after 5 chiefs were abducted by suspected terrorists.
FIDA Kenya will actively monitor this case and protect the survivor to ensure that she gets justice.
Shock and uproar. A clinician in Mombasa charged with allegedly raping dialysis patient in hospital. Back to the drawing board. HELB reverts to the old funding model after students storm anniversary towers.
Take it from me, we are not increasing VAT at all. Actually, the finance bill of this year may not have any tax adjustment upwards.
No more tax hikes. CS Treasury John Mbadi at pains to explain government spending amid high taxes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Yula Nzale. So a multi-agency team led by the Kenya Defence Forces is tonight leading an operation to rescue 5 chiefs who were abducted by suspected Al-Shabaab militants in Wargadud area in Mandera County today. The chiefs, who are on official duty traveling to Elwak area for a meeting to prepare for President William Ruto's week-long working tour of the northeastern region, were intercepted by their kidnappers and their car driven off towards the Kenya-Somali border. As Emmanuel Toh now reports, sources say that the president's trip to the region is still on, despite the incident that has sent shockwaves in the country.
The incident, which was reported at around 8:30 a.m. Monday, saw 5 chiefs who were en route to Elwak from Wargadud area in Mandera County for a meeting to finalize preparations for President William Ruto's visit to the northeastern region, add to the growing statistic of abductions and kidnappings in the country. Only this time round, the suspects are the terror militia group. The 5 are said to have been traveling by an Alto wagon vehicle driven by one of the chiefs when all of a sudden they were ambushed, intercepted and blindfolded at Iresuki village before their vehicle was commandeered by the suspected militants who sped off towards Lafay area.
5 of them are members of the National Government Administration who were on their way to Elwak here for a meeting, and then they stopped the car. We were told that they forcibly took control of the car and managed to speed off with all the occupants toward the general direction of Kenya-Somalia border.
Gari aina ya Alto wagon iliweza kupatikana ama ilisimamishwa na watu ambao wanaaminika kuwa ni majambazi kutoka ule mlengo wa Al-Shabaab.
The 5 are Mohamed Adawa, Mohamed Hassan Kulmia, Abdi Hassan Surau, Mohamed Nur Hache, and Assistant Chief Ibrahim Gabo. Security agencies now say they are in hot pursuit of the abductors in a multi-pronged security operation led by the Kenya Defence Forces.
We have put together a multi-agency surveillance patrol team led by the KDF, and right now that operation is underway.
There is no proper and organized response to the incident, and we call upon the CS for defense, because this is an aggression from the neighboring country. They must act and deliver back our chief. Ni jambo la kuhuzunisha kwamba Wakati kama huu ambao tunajitayarisha kumkaribisha rais katika kaunti, jambo la insecurity kama hili linafanyika, wakati ambapo utatarajia kwamba usalama umetumizwa kila mahali.
Despite the incident, President William Ruto's trip of the region is said to be still on and will begin from the county of incident, Mandera. In a week-long program, the head of state is set to commission and launch projects done by both the national and county governments in the following order: Mandera County on Tuesday, Wednesday in Wajir, Thursday Garissa, and Friday Isiolo County. The president is also expected to chair a cabinet meeting in Garissa County before embarking on his trip to Isiolo Friday.
Murimuoyo, Muribaramu, Musangarire.
The trip comes a few days after Ruto completed a week of high-octane politics in the Western Kenya region, where he went carrying goodies. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV.
Let's talk about education matters now. And the Higher Education Loans Board, that's HELB, has announced that first and second year university students will now receive funds under the old model, the differentiated unit cost. This will happen while awaiting the outcome of an appeal challenging the High Court suspension of the new framework. The announcement follows protests at various institutions on Monday, led by University of Nairobi students who stormed HELB headquarters in Nairobi to demand the immediate release of their loans. Meanwhile, the Technical University of Kenya has been closed indefinitely after striking dons and staff refused to administer examinations on Monday. Willie Lusige has the details.
On Monday, students from the University of Nairobi began their protest by blocking University Way, later storming HELB's headquarters at the Anniversary Towers in Nairobi. They decried delays in HELB disbursement for the first and second year students under the new funding model. The protest extended beyond the University of Nairobi, with students across the country expressing frustration over the delays which had caused significant financial hardship for many. After being locked outside the HELB headquarters, tension escalated until police intervened, allowing a number of student leaders entry into Anniversary Towers to present their grievances.
And for a long time, we've been telling the government to release our HELB funds, but they've been taking us through circles. So today we are going to that HELB office and demand for our money in cash. We all have brown envelopes. We're going to make straight queues and they'll give us cash.
The University of Nairobi student leadership met with HELB officials. The HELB officials explained that the delays had been occasioned by a High Court ruling on December 20th, which declared the new university funding model illegal and unconstitutional.
The delay was that there was a court case and the judge ruled and prohibited any action on the implementation of the new funding model.
Under increasing pressure, HELB stated it will disburse funds for the first and second year students using the old model while awaiting decision on appeal against the High Court suspension of the new framework. This means that the affected students will be financed under the differentiated unit cost model, the same model used for third and fourth year students.
And we have decided to pay the students under the old funding model.
HELB lending manager Kingori Ndegwa also confirmed that HELB had just disbursed Kenya shilling 3.1 billion using the old model, although approximately 180,000 students are still awaiting the disbursements.
By this morning, I think about 3.7 billion was pushed to their accounts. So I believe by the end of the day today, they'll have received the money.
Shall never be divided. Elsewhere, the Technical University of Kenya has been closed indefinitely after exams scheduled to take place at the university on Monday morning failed to start as striking staff rejected the Vice-Chancellor's request to proceed with the tests.
With 5.3 billion shillings of our savings down the drain, it is a matter of life and life after death.
Staff cannot come and help the students or administer exams when they have not been paid.
The lecturers are demanding payment of salary arrears dating back to December 2024. Some students at TUK joined the staff in the demonstrations, urging the Ministry of Education to release the funds to cover the outstanding salaries.
For how long are staff members in this university going to suffer? Comrades! Comrades! Hakuna mambo ya kusoma.
This page is a clear indication of the last day that students here were able to attend a lecture as this university continues to sink deeper into financial crisis, with many students not knowing the fate of their education. Willie Lusigia, Citizen TV at TUK University in Nairobi.
Now, the cost of higher education in the country is set to substantially reduce if the recommendations of the National Committee on Review of the new University Education Funding Model are implemented. The committee, which wound up its work last week, is calling for a review of the costing of courses as well as the banning of methods. Brenda Wanga has more.
The committee, which was appointed in September last year, has made a raft of recommendations aimed at addressing the contentious issues that plague the student-centered funding model. The model that has since been declared unconstitutional was criticized for being discriminatory by tying funding to a student's economic status and placing the cost of courses out of reach of thousands of students, amongst others. The committee, which worked on 4 different streams to review the new funding model for universities and TVET, to review appeals on categorizations of students into bands and structure of student loans and the cost of university academic programs, is recommending to the appointing authority a raft of measures that, if adopted and implemented fully, could bring relief to learners and their parents.
So, Makori, this thing is here.
Sources intimated to Citizen TV that the committee took note of what it agreed was the exorbitant cost of academic programs in public universities as compared to the cost of the same in private and other regional universities. The committee established that the costing of the programs was based on a student-lecture ratio that did not reflect the reality in public universities. The review of the same, if adopted, is set to reduce the cost of academic programs by at least 23%. The committee also recommends that the governance structures at public universities be strengthened by giving parents a seat at the decision-making table on the university's councils. The students will also see a more balanced method of allocating help funds if the recommendations are adopted. The committee wants all students to be allocated funds uniformly without reference being made to their economic status. The new funding model had categorized students into 5 bands, from the extreme needy to the high-income earners, with the needy getting higher allocations in terms of scholarships and upkeep, while the high-income earners got less funds for scholarships and upkeep. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Now, in what appears to be a move to appease salaried Kenyans, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi now says there will be no more tax on the payslip. Mbadi, who was put on the spot for the government's continued raid on salaried workers and unconducive business environment, which has seen many companies lay off the workers, found himself at pains to defend government misplaced priorities in expenditure in disregard to the austerity measures. Jimmy Mbogo with the details.
An uncomfortable seat on the terrace for the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, John Mbadi, and the Kenya Revenue Authority Board Chair was the least of their worries in their inaugural visit to Bunge la Mwananchi. Mbadi, who had been keen on communicating the government's expenditure, taking the heat for the government's continued raid on the payslip.
I am really concerned about the well-being of our payslips as the working class. So we will need you to address how are you going to stop or reduce the raid on our payslips.
We cannot overtax Kenyans anymore. We have reached a limit where we are saying no more space for taxation, especially on employment income. You will not see any more taxes on employment income under my watch.
Members of the public further took the Cabinet Secretary to task over government's expenditure, ranging from State House renovation, with most questioning whether government's misplaced priority in disregard to its own austerity measures.
Bwana Waziri, yesterday we were watching Citizen Live, and the Minister of Environment, who is Mr. Ndwale, was asked, Mr. Waziri, how much took the State House renovation? Is it 10 billion or 2 billion?
Sahi to renovate. So what you need to tell me, don't spend any more money on further renovations, isn't it? Juu hiyo nyumba ukiona sahi ni mzuri. Imekuwa renovated. Imechukua ile pesa imechukua.
We saw that your office had allocated some hundreds of millions for members of the cabinet to be flying around. And it was actually a scandal in the papers that you and the other expert, Opio and I, are the flying experts.
Mbadi also found himself in trouble for flying to his rural home in choppers.
I have used chopper before on 3 occasions to government functions. Number 1, I have just talked to you about going to Tana River. I left Nairobi after a meeting at the State House to go to Tana River and back. I don't know whether I would have made it using my car. And from there, I went to another function of local in Kisumu. So let me ask you, once I finish that and I want to go to my rural home, does the chopper drop me on the road and come back to Nairobi and I walk to my home?
And with every question for the cabinet secretary seemingly mounting pressure on the government, the CS was forced to take a softer tone to encourage the demonstrably unconvinced crowd that things will change for the better, following measures put in place by the government, even as he sought to make a case for the deductions, including the controversial Social Health Insurance Fund and the housing levy.
Wanakatwa mambo ya SHA na SHIP na wanakatwa housing. Je, ule ambaye mke wake anafanya kazi bwana Wasiri na yeye mwenyewe anafanya kazi, wewe bibi yangu mke wangu amekatwa pesa na mimi nimekatwa pesa, sasa mke wangu atapewa nyumba yake na mimi nipewe nyumba yangu ama itakuwa namna gani?
You have talked about SHA na housing levy. Sana SHA. SHA is an insurance. An insurance does not mean that when you pay money for health that you must fall sick.
From the comfort of air-conditioned rooms and well-thought-out presentation by sector players to what mirrored a political gathering, this could be the future of public participation, particularly on the financing of the country. But will it be effective? Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And away from that, a Mombasa-based clinical officer has been freed on a 500,000 shillings bond after he pleaded not guilty to charges of sexually assaulting a patient at the Pandya Hospital in Mombasa. Dayas Juma Wabwire was accused of raping a 30-year-old patient who was seeking dialysis services at the facility earlier on this year. And as Laura Otieno now reports, women's rights organization FIDA has called for the arrest of more suspects whom they accused of trying to cover up the Heinous Act.
Dayas Juma Wabwire was arraigned before Chief Magistrate Alex Ithuku at the Mombasa High Court on Monday, where he was charged with 1 count of rape.
Is it true or not true, Dayas Juma?
Wabwire is accused of raping a patient at 5 a.m. on 31st January 2025 at the Pandya Hospital, who was seeking dialysis services at the facility. He, however, denied the charge and was released on a 500,000 shillings bond with a surety of a similar amount.
And considering the law and circumstances of the case, I will admit the accused person to a bond of Kenya shillings 500,000 with 1 surety of similar amount.
Women's rights organization FIDA has condemned the incident, saying that the woman had earlier been raped by the same suspect, calling for the arrest of more people whom they are accused of obstructing the course of justice.
FIDA Kenya will actively monitor this case and protect the survivor to ensure that she gets justice. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council and the Nursing Council of Kenya must suspend the licenses of all those involved until complete investigations are concluded.
Looking at the press release by Pandya Hospital, they're not denying the allegations, so which means they're aware of what has been happening and they know. So we shall also be following closely to see how they're going to cooperate to ensure that this our client is able to get justice.
The case will be mentioned on 17th February 2025. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Now, the Kenya Tourism Authority has written to Taita Hills Resort and Spa and Salt Lake Wildlife Resort demanding explanations into multiple allegations of workplace abuse, discrimination and mistreatment of staff at the resort. Complaints leveled by current and former staff against the general manager, identified as Sanjeev Kumar, have cited the hotel as a hostile workplace.
The luxurious Salt Lake Safari Lodge in Taita Taveta has been rocked by multiple allegations of racial discrimination. The tourist hotel, which promises luxurious accommodation in the heart of the Taita Hills Wildlife Sanctuary, is ironically a haven of alleged abuse, mistreatment and discrimination against staff by the administration of the hotel. The staff accused the general manager Sanjeev Kumar of making life unbearable for them. They accused the general manager, who is of Indian descent, of insulting, yelling at them in front of guests and firing them at will, in total disregard and violation of employment laws and fair labor practices. Employees at the hotel say Kumar openly berates them for being black and African and has reportedly replaced all front office staff with lighter-skinned individuals. In a letter written to the directors of the hotel by the Tourism Regulatory Authority, the regulator has given the resort an ultimatum of 5 days to respond to the allegations. In the demand letter obtained by Citizen TV, the regulator says, "We have received complaints from your staff regarding the General Manager Sanjeev Kumar, allegations of infringement of employees' rights, verbal and physical harassment, denial of employee benefits such as leave, abusive and violent behavior contrary to the Constitution of Kenya." The industry regulator has asked the directors of the Salt Lake Safari Lodge to appear at the Tourism Regulatory Authority offices in Mombasa within 5 days to record a statement, failure to which the authority will suspend the resort's tourism license and take the necessary legal action. Miri Moki, Citizen TV.
Such unfortunate scenes. Now, the Auditor General's report on the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF, has revealed irregularities in the management of the funds across several constituencies, implicating members of parliament for failing to account for millions of shillings. Key issues highlighted in the report for the year ending 2023 include double payments of bursaries, the lack of proper documentation to support development projects, and missing receipts or even acknowledgement letters from institutions that received bursary payments. Melita Oletenges has the details.
Members of Parliament are on the spot for failing to account for millions of shillings allocated under the National Government Constituency Development Fund, as highlighted in the Auditor General's report for the year ending 2023. A recurring issue across several constituencies is the disbursement of bursaries with no proper accountability or documentation. In Saku constituency, 47.2 million shillings was allocated for bursaries to assist students in various institutions. However, 8.2 million shillings of this amount was not acknowledged by the receiving schools, and no receipts or acknowledgement letters were provided. Additionally, 9 million shillings in bursaries were disbursed without proper student lists or admission numbers, raising concerns over the legitimacy of these payments. In Moyale constituency, 3.2 million shillings was spent on committee expenses, including 2.3 million shillings for allowances related to monitoring and evaluation exercises. However, no evidence was provided to confirm that these funds were used for actual project visits. Furthermore, 9.5 million shillings was allocated for the purchase of a 49-seater bus for Dr. Guracha Memorial Girls Secondary School, but no tender documents were provided for audit. In Sirisia constituency, 35.5 million shillings in bursary disbursements could not be verified as accurate or complete. Similarly, 1 million shillings allocated for the purchase of land for Kikai Girls Secondary School was questioned, as no ownership documents were provided. In Kapseret constituency, 2.6 million shillings was spent on committee expenses, but the required pay-as-you-earn deductions for committee allowances, totaling 1.2 million shillings, were not remitted to the Kenya Revenue Authority, breaching the law. The accuracy and completeness of 44.7 million shillings in bursary disbursement were also flagged as unverified. Further concerns were raised in Langata constituency, where 52.9 million shillings in bursary disbursements lacked clear criteria for distribution, and no acknowledgement letters from recipient institutions were provided. In Dagoretti South, the asset registers showed 85.4 million shillings in assets, including land, buildings and structures valued at 60 million shillings, but no ownership documents were presented for audit. In Rongai constituency, Nakuru County, 4.3 million shillings in bursaries lacked the necessary student registration, admission numbers or application forms. In Jomvu constituency, no financial statements were provided for the project management committee's account balance of 51 million shillings, leading to questions regarding the accuracy of the balance. These findings, together with irregularities noticed in other constituencies, expose widespread mismanagement and irregularities in the handling of NGCDF funds, raising serious concerns about transparency and accountability across multiple constituencies. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
All right, on that note, Monday Report is taking a quick break. When we come back, still welcome back to the Monday Report. Now, top Cohen murder suspect Sarah Wairimu will remain in remand for 14 days until February 18th, when the High Court will deliver a ruling on whether or not she will be granted bail. Prosecution side has opposed Wairimu's bail application, arguing that she may interfere with witnesses, some of whom are under witness protection. The prosecution also argued that Wairimu is a flight risk. On their part, the lawyers representing the administrators of Cohen's estate, Kimani Wakiwa and Pasiline Omamo, once Wairimu barred from accessing the house where she currently resides and where the body of Cohen was recovered back in September 13, 2019. Wairimu, through her lawyer Conrad Maloba, has dismissed the argument that she will interfere with witnesses if released on bail. Now, police in Athi River have launched investigations into the murder of a man whose body was dumped near a water drainage channel at Athi River in Namanga Road interchange. The body, which was discovered by a herder on Monday afternoon, had a deep cut on the right foot and both legs had been tied using a blood-stained shirt. Residents and human rights activists have demanded for a thorough probe into the incident, which comes at a time when there is growing concern over increased cases of abductions. Gatete Njoroge has the details.
At the Athi River Namanga Road interchange, business came to a standstill on Monday afternoon. Residents and motorists glanced at a body dumped near a water drainage channel on the busy highway. The news of the discovery of the body with a deep cut by a herder spread like fire in the area, following reports of the abductions of 4 men from Lolongo, 2 who were found dead and 2 are still missing.
Mtu alipita na ng'ombe hivi. Ndiye alikonfirm kwamba kuna mtu ako pale amekufa. So ndiye akainform watu wengine sababu kuna pale stage ya boda akainform watu pale. Hiyo mwili inaonekana kama imefika usiku. Kwa sababu hawezi kuwa amekuja, kama angekuwa amelala pale ingeonekana pale chini.
Residents claim the body was dragged from across the road, where it is believed the man could have been killed before being disposed at the interchange.
Mwili imefuruta kutoka huko kwa miwa. Kwa hivyo ile ngambo ikafukuzwa barabara. Hata mimi naonyesha tu kifikisha barabara imemwakiga ikikuja hadi hapa. Hata makarao ameenda confirm. Sasa hiyo time yote kufurudwa hiyo mwili fika hapa. Hakuna mtu yote anaona na tuko na security na hapa mahali ni babaya. Lazima security kuwe tight.
Nimekuja hapa nikapata hiyo mwili hapa. Watu tunasema serikali muweke tu security vizuri. Ndio unaona hii mauaji inaendelea.
Human rights activists have termed the latest murder as a matter of grave concern in the wake of abductions and extrajudicial killings, want security officials to work with speed and arrest the situation, which is getting out of hand.
At this point in time, we are very disappointed. It appears as if the whole country is a dumping site for bodies. The whole country is a crime scene. Because we are picking bodies not just from rivers, sasa hata kwa interchange, kwa roundabout, mwili zinatupwa. So we are asking the government and security agencies to do their job. Kenyans are not feeling safe.
The body of the man, believed to be in his 30s, has since been taken to Nairobi Funeral Home. Detectives from Athi River have commenced investigations into the incident. Meanwhile, the families of Kalani Muema and Steve Mbisi, who went missing from Mulolongo in December, continue with the search for their loved ones after numerous visits at Nairobi Funeral Home with no luck. The 2 friends disappeared together with Justus Musimi and Martin Mwau, whose bodies were found last week at the Nairobi Funeral Home. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
All right, and on that note, let's start a conversation here with Honorable Pio Wandayi, who's the Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum. He's with us here in studio. You can send in all the questions you may have at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. Also text in 22422. Tell us your name and where you're texting from, and your question. We'll pose them to Waziri. Waziri, thank you so much for making time. So there's a lot of criticism on the Last Mile project that it's not taking power to the most needy. In fact, there are still some people who apply for power and get a 2 million shillings bill based on the distance of the transformer. Is the Last Mile about status or about connecting everyone to the grid?
Trevor, first and foremost, good evening.
Good evening.
It's nice to be back here. It's been a while since I last featured in your studio. But let me first and foremost start by saying that our mission as a Ministry of Energy and Petroleum is to ensure that we make it possible for Kenyans of all walks of life to access energy at affordable cost, reliably, sustainably, okay, and in a clean environment. And therefore, to say that there is some sort of discrimination in terms of extending power or electricity to people can be totally misleading. As a matter of fact, and I've been all over the country, in many counties, in many constituencies, and in many wards, our rural electrification program, undertaken by both REREC and KPLC, serves every Kenyan without regard to their class or stature in society. And this can be confirmed by simply checking the statistics that are out there. Let me say this, Trevor, and this is something that Kenyans need to know, that the government under President William Ruto has made tremendous efforts and has achieved very serious gains in terms of expanding the reach of electricity to people, households, to businesses across the country. If you look at the figure that was obtaining in August 2022, when we last held our elections, Kenya Power and Lighting Company had by then connected about 8.9 million customers across the country. As at yesterday, the 2nd of February 2025, that number had shot by a whopping 1 million to hit 9.9 million customers. And our projection is that by the time we get to the next elections, that is in August 2027, we would have added an additional 1 million or so customers. That would take the customer base, the Kenya Power and Lighting customer base, to approximately 11 million. That is a tremendous achievement that many people may not realize.
Yeah.
And that kind of achievement couldn't have been possible if there was some form of discrimination.
But how come there are some people who say they've applied for power and they still get exorbitant bills? 1 million, they're being told that it depends on the distance that you're out from the transformer, the number of people who want power in that village. That's a question that we've gotten from quite a number of people who sent in their questions here, saying that I have been given a bill of 1.5 million, I've been given a bill of 2 million because they're calculating the distance from the transformer.
You know, the term exorbitant is relative, Trevor.
You think 2 million is a reasonable amount to pay for power connection?
It depends on case by case. Each particular case is looked at on its own merit. And the distance from the existing transformer is a major factor in determining the eventual cost of connection. But you must also understand, Trevor, it must not be lost on Kenyans that the rural electrification program that we are currently undertaking through REREC is such that customers or Kenyans who are eventually connected do not have to pay even a single cent. We have gone all over the country launching these programs, these projects, commissioning them, and we have continually reiterated to the people that this project is underwritten by the government of the Republic of Kenya, headed by President William Ruto, and that they aren't required under this program to pay even a single cent, that the only thing they would be expected to pay under these rural electrification schemes or projects is electricity bills once they have been fully connected.
But so is there a backlog there? Because there's not everyone they can get into the system. People are saying they've applied and it's taking long for them to even get a response.
You know, Trevor, as they say, Rome was never built in one day.
So is there a backlog?
It is a journey, and it's our duty to ensure that we serve Kenyans in the order of the application. And therefore, it goes without saying that Kenyans will queue. But our purpose, our determination, our commitment as a ministry and as a government is to ensure that we shorten the waiting time as much as possible.
Right now, what should be the average waiting time?
Well, in many instances, especially where we are implementing these rural electrification projects that are fully funded by the government of Kenya, and of course sometimes with support from development partners and financiers, there's really no waiting time because we get out there, do the design, map the area, and contract out the works, and it is implemented. In fact, REREC does these things in sometimes in less than 2 months. But where a customer does an application outside these rural electrification schemes, okay, in the normal manner to Kenya Power and Lighting Company, okay, it must be understood that the customer would be doing so alongside others. But as we speak, even under those circumstances, I don't think it's going to take anything more than 1 month for any such customer to get connected. Where there are exceptions, there could be factors that are at play. Such, of course, factors are continually looked into by the relevant officers and personnel who are on the ground in the whole country.
So how does the rural electrification system work? How do you choose that this is the part where you're going to take power free of charge and other people can then apply? Because even during your launches, we've seen you doing it in rather humble backgrounds. We've not seen you in a middle class situation where you show that you're launching power there. The middle class say that they have to wait longer.
You know, the government of the Republic of Kenya is seized of the demographics, is seized of the geography of the country, and therefore is well conversant of the needs of the people wherever they are. And therefore, we work in tandem, first and foremost, with the statistics which are available from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. But we also work very closely with elected leaders, okay, who we, as you must have noted, from time to time, I host members of parliament in my office to deliberate upon the matter of rural electrification and take stock of the current status and eventually agree on a roadmap to implementation of these programs. And therefore, we don't just act out of the blues. It is an all-encompassing process that involves various stakeholders. It's a very democratic exercise because ultimately the aim of the government of the Republic of Kenya is to ensure that there is universal access to electricity by the year 2030. That is captured in our Vision 2030.
Okay.
Yes, the Kenya Vision 2030 is very explicit that by the year 2030 we should have achieved 100% universal access. As we speak, on average, we are hovering around to 75%.
Okay.
Now, that therefore means that eventually it is our intention or objective to reach every corner of the country, to reach possibly every household and every business. Okay, that is the ultimate objective. Yeah, but we, of course, we prioritize based on the needs as expressed by the people themselves and many a time by their elected representatives.
But even as you strive to do that, Waziri, people are complaining about the cost of power. In fact, it has caused a flight of investors in between the 2022 and 2023. Several investors, especially in the horticulture industry, fled the country. What are you doing to ensure that the price of power is reasonable? You said that exorbitant is relative, but we all know cost of power is too high.
Yes. There's no single bullet solution to that. You must look at the cost of power in the context of the whole architecture of power generation, power transmission, and eventually power distribution to the ultimate consumers. As a government and as a ministry, we have taken a holistic view and approach to addressing the issue of the cost of power to the consumers. Firstly, we are working very systematically in enhancing our electricity generation. We are working very deliberately to ensure that we increase our capacity to generate electricity, and particularly from renewable energy sources. But having done so, in fact, we are targeting that by the year 2028, early, we should have added additional 500 or so megawatts to our current 3,200 or thereabout megawatts. But having done so, we are also in tandem with the increased generation, looking at modernizing the electricity transmission infrastructure, and eventually the energy or electricity distribution infrastructure. Because you must understand, Trevor, that part of the factor that contribute to the eventual electricity cost is what we call system and commercial losses. System losses, of course, would emanate from the infrastructure, the losses that occur when electricity is sometimes to be transported long distances in low voltage transmission lines. You lose a lot of power. Commercial losses, of course, emanate from situations such as, for instance, illegal connections, okay, especially sometimes in informal settlements. All these put together contribute to what we call system and commercial losses. We are working systematically to reduce those losses.
And you say the target is 2028?
To which target?
To reduce now this.
No, I
have
said that our target is to to bring an additional 500 or so megawatts to the national grid by the year 2028. And as we do so, we are also working systematically to address those factors that contribute to cost of electricity to the ultimate consumer.
So when should Kenyans expect the cost of power to go down? That is their main concern.
They will see systematic reduction in the cost of power, progressive reduction in the cost of power as we move along. There's no deadline for this, okay? And we are confident, Trevor. We are confident, Trevor, that with the measures we have put in place and that we are putting in place as government, ultimately Kenyans will be the beneficiaries. Trevor, you must understand also that we are also concerned about ensuring that the electricity that we distribute to Kenyans is reliable, is consistent, is clean, is sustainable. And you must have noted in the last couple or so of months, the matter of power outages has gone down.
But they're still there,
considerably.
Especially when it rains.
Considerably. Trevor, there is no country anywhere in the world that would say they have got zero incidents of power outage. What is critical is that if and when there is power outage, how long does it take to restore power? You must have noted, Trevor, in the last few months or so, that we have taken the shortest possible time whenever there is an outage to restore power. And that is really the way to go, so that businesses cannot be unnecessarily disrupted, so that Kenyans can continue to enjoy quality electricity in their home states and also in their business premises.
Yeah, but Waziri, domestic consumers still complain. They're saying there's still erratic billing. One time you're paying more than your rent, the other time it's half of that. Where is the problem?
It's very difficult to respond to that because, you know, billing is an individual issue. We bill people based on individual consumption trends. And what we could be referring as erratic could actually be as a result of erratic consumption of electricity. So it's very difficult to really say that household X is having erratic billing because of reason X, and household Y is having not so erratic billing because of reason Y. It's very difficult, but it's an issue that must be looked at on a case-by-case basis.
Critics say it is based on corruption. That's the reason why there are many leakages there. Have you examined this?
You know, corruption is a very, very powerful terminology. It's a very strong word that needs to be backed by evidence. So, as a lawyer, yes, I would not want to make such a conclusion unless I am seized of evidence. Yes.
Okay, I have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll still continue with this conversation in a short while. Waziri is still with us here. Send in your questions at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. See you in just a bit.
Central Bank of Kenya.
Welcome back. So the National Treasury has announced an extension for the pending bills verification committee, a move confirmed by Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi in a Gazette notice dated January 31st. The Treasury announced that the extension took effect from October 1st, 2024 and will run until March 31st, 2025. The decision aims to provide the committee with additional time to thoroughly audit and verify outstanding government bills accumulated between 2005 and 2022. The committee, chaired by former Auditor General Edward Ouko, was initially established to address the substantial backlog of pending bills, which currently total over 600 billion shillings. Its mandate includes examining the authenticity of these bills and proposing mechanisms to prevent future accumulations. The extension underscores the government's commitment to ensuring fiscal responsibility and transparency in settling debts owed to suppliers and contractors. Now, the latest housing survey from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics highlights significant contrast between urban and rural living arrangements. In rural areas, a commanding 85.5% of households own their homes, compared to just 22.8% in urban centers, where 72.3% of households are renting. Bungalows continue to dominate as the preferred housing type, with 76.3% ownership in rural settings and 69.1% in cities. The survey also provides a snapshot of housing quality and access to utilities nationwide. About 58.9% of dwellings feature durable floor materials, 47.2% have robust wall construction, and an impressive 93.6% boast of durable roofing. Technological strides are evident as well, with 20.5% of counties having digitized building plan applications and 23.3% adopting geo-referenced land records. On the environmental front, 78.2% of environmental impact assessment reports on housing projects received approval in 2023. The survey paints a picture of a country where rural home ownership prevails. Urban areas grapple with high rental rates, and both technological advancement and infrastructural challenges shape the housing landscape. Now, the government has unveiled sweeping reforms to enhance airport efficiency in the country. These include the doubling of immigration booths at JKIA with the 90 days and the installation of electronic self-clearance gates, commonly known as e-gates, to fast-track passenger processing. Jasmine Wamboi has the details.
The government has announced the immediate implementation of a new airport charter. The charter will streamline agency coordination, enhance security screening and modernize infrastructure. The initiative is looking to position Kenya as a top aviation hub.
A lot of service provision has been hampered by the competition between institutions and functioning as silos. We have today come here to announce that never again shall the airport operate and airport operating agencies shall operate as silos. They will now work as one united team at the airport led by the Kenya Airports Authority.
Advanced passenger information systems will be deployed immediately to strengthen border control. All African travelers are now exempt from ETA requirements with expedited multiple entry ETA processing in place.
Only bags flagged by security scanners. You know we do scan our bags behind. So only bags flagged by security scanners will be open in dedicated screening room. This aims to enhance security while ensuring a respectful and seamless travel experience to our travelers.
To improve customs operations, the duty-free limit has been raised from 50,000 shillings to 250,000 shillings. And KRA officers will be equipped with body-worn cameras from July 1st to boost transparency. Additionally, the charter requires that all airport staff must wear uniforms and name tags within 2 weeks.
And considering that we have an ambitious target to receive over 5 million tourists annually from the year 2027. So the measures that have been announced will be significant in supporting the arrival and the exit and customer experience at the airport.
Over the next 6 months, the government will upgrade airport infrastructure, including air conditioning, drainage systems and signages. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV.
This is me at Stanbic Private Banking. What does it feel like? It's investing skillfully. It's planning wisely. It's living joyfully. It's banking easily. Visit www.stanbic.co.ke. Stanbic Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Time for some sporting action. FKF Premier League champions Gor Mahia have unveiled Sinisa Meshik as the new head coach. Gor has been under coach Zedekao Otieno Zico on interim basis for the last 3 months. Sinisa from Croatia will be assisted by Zico and Michael Nam. The coach takes over Kogalo, who finds sitting in the third position on the log, 6 points behind joint leaders Police FC and Tusker FC. His first training session will be on Tuesday as Gor prepare to face Tusker FC on Saturday.
No doubt, this is something beautiful. I'm so proud, grateful for that, and I know it from before, yes, that not so many clubs in Africa has that reputation. So Gor Mahia is one of that, and I'm very happy to join the Green Army.
As usual, the aim of Gor Mahia since inception is to win leagues and also to develop players and then to improve our financial status. I've had a very useful discussion with Sinisha Miha on this, and I'm so impressed that he knows really what we want. So what we expect is, at the moment we are third in the log we don't want to be there. In a few days' time, we want to be at the top. And you know, when we get to the top, it's very difficult to dislodge us from there. That is my expectation.
And still on Gor Mahia, and following the order from the Sports Dispute Tribunal to conduct elections within 90 days, Gor Mahia chairman Ambrose Rachir has confirmed that the club will indeed have its elections as stipulated. The move has since attracted reactions from various stakeholders, with the club's treasurer Dolphina Odhiambo maintaining that Rachir's time at the helm is over.
Are to comply with the tribunal order strictly, and we are going to be able to comply. We should be able to make announcements. Tomorrow will appear for the mention at the tribunal. Then we should be able to make an announcement of giving a roadmap where we are going and inviting those who may want to contest. But as I said in another forum, is that these elections should not derail our pursuit for the league, and that everything else should be conducted in a responsible manner and in a peaceful manner.
I am also vying. And I'm not just vying, I'm vying for the chairperson seat. So all the contenders, they should feel free to join me in the ballot. I'm happy you're saying that the chairman is saying he's going to hold elections. Very good. But remember, the registrar that he's going to see tomorrow also wrote 2 letters to his office, specifically mentioning him and saying that he is not eligible to vie. So I don't know how we are planning to handle that, because his terms, like I said, are over. But nevertheless, even if he decides to vie, there's no problem. Let's meet at the ballot. Yeah?
Now, top teams in the Kenya Volleyball Federation National Men's League registered mixed reactions on the final day of action as the third leg came to a close at the Nyayo National Stadium. GSU were in good form over the 4 days and finished off with a clinical 3-0 win over Kenya Army. This was a remarkable improvement from the previous match, where they were made to sweat before edging out Prisons Kenya 3-2. Trailblazers were 3-0 winners over NYS in sets of 25-13, 25-14 and 25-16. Blazers were still smarting from a 3-2 upset defeat to Western Prisons. Kenya Prisons were involved in 2 5-setter matches after losing 3-2 to GSU. They upped their game to win by the same margin against Kapu. KPA had a smooth last 2 matches, winning by the same 3-0 margin against Western Prisons and Rift Valley Prisons. It was the same case for KDF, who won 3-0 against both Rift Valley Prisons and Nairobi Prisons. Friends School Kamusinga had a good outing in Nairobi, where they won the Sevens Rugby and Basketball Boys titles at the inaugural Kenya Academy of Sports annual tournament for schools. Friends School were too good for Dagoretti High in the Rugby Boys final, winning 35-0. Their class was on display from the first minute as they ran rings around the Dagoretti boys, leading 21-0 at the break before taking the match 35-0. In the girls' final, St. Teresa's had 2 teams in the final. Team A emerged 27-12 winners over Team B in an entertaining finals match. In basketball, Friends School Kamusinga again beat Dagoretti High School in the boys' final, while high-flying Olympic Secondary edged out Buruburu Girls in the girls' final. The tournament was played across 3 venues in Nairobi to give teams a chance to assess their players before the national Term 1 ball games finals in Mombasa.
We had teams coming from far, Friends School Kamusinga, St. Teresa's, and on the whole, what we saw was very good raw talent at a young age that we now need to mold and groom and make them become better players.
The idea is to invest behind rugby and invest behind basketball and go nationwide. So, because talent is not just concentrated within the capital city.
We are collecting data and identifying the best talent that we have. By the